In the ruthless, unforgiving world of the UFC heavyweight division, one wrong move can cost a fight everything. The margin for error is razor thin, and any hint of complacency can spell disaster. This reality became brutally clear as Tom Aspinall, the rising British powerhouse and interim heavyweight champion, publicly issued a chilling warning to the division's French technician and former interim champion, Ciryl Gane. "Don't underestimate me." Aspinall's words weren't just a call for attention. They were a declaration of war, a shot across the bow aimed at one of the most technically gifted fighters in the UFC. The British juggernaut, known for his freakish athleticism and unnerving composure, is tired of being overlooked. He's not a side character in the Jon Jones-type myopic drama. He's not a placeholder champion. He's the real deal, and he wants the world, and especially Gane, to know it. This is the story of that warning, the men involved, and the stakes that continue to rise in one of the most dynamic chapters of heavyweight MMA history. Tom Aspinall has always been a quiet storm, respectful, analytical, and focused. But behind the humility lies a monster. After tearing through the heavyweight division and bouncing back from a devastating knee injury with a ferocious knockout of Marcin Tybura and a lightning-fast TKO of Sergey Pavlovich, Aspinall's confidence is no longer brewing beneath the surface. It's exploding outward. During a recent interview with a UK-based MMA outlet, Aspinall didn't mince words when asked about a potential showdown with Ciryl Gane. "He's flashy, he's slick, and he's smart in there," Aspinall admitted. "But if he thinks I'm just another wrestler or slugger, he's in for a nightmare. I'm not like anyone he's fought before. If Ciryl underestimates me, it'll be the biggest mistake of his career." Aspinall's calm tone only amplified the threat. This wasn't chest-beating bravado. It was a professional prediction, and it sent ripples through the MMA community. To understand the weight of Aspinall's warning, we need to examine Ciryl Gane's career. Gane is an enigma in the heavyweight division. Fluid, agile, and uncommonly elegant for a man of his size, Gane moves like a middleweight trapped in a heavyweight's body. He dismantled Derrick Lewis in Houston. He outpointed Alexander Volkov. His striking is masterful. Against Francis Ngannou, Gane was cruising for 2 rounds until the Cameroonian shocked the world by out-wrestling him. Against Jon Jones, Gane was completely overwhelmed and submitted in less than a round. 2 fights, 2 losses, 2 glaring exposures of his grappling defense and ground awareness. And Tom Aspinall is the worst possible person to leave those holes open against. Born into a family of martial artists and trained in Brazilian jiu-jitsu long before striking, Aspinall is a rare breed. He's not a striker who learned to grapple. He's a grappler who learned to strike with knockout precision. That distinction makes all the difference. With a 100% finish rate, Aspinall has made it a habit of making elite fighters look ordinary. Whether it is blitzing them with speed and hands faster than any man his size has a right to throw, or dragging them to the canvas and submitting them effortlessly, Aspinall has no fear of any domain. "I've watched every one of Gane's fights," Aspinall said. "He's brilliant at what he does, but I've got the tools to break that rhythm. He's never had to deal with someone who can strike and shoot like I can. When he feels that pressure, when the threat is everywhere, he'll know." It's this blend of confidence, self-awareness, and technical prowess that makes Aspinall a terrifying prospect. His resume may be shorter than Gane's, but his trajectory is meteoric. This wasn't the first time Aspinall has called out Gane. He's been steadily upping the heat in interviews, subtly framing himself as the division's most complete fighter and nudging Gane into a corner. "I don't think he wants that fight," Aspinall said bluntly during another media appearance. "He's looking for the Jon Jones or Stipe fights because they are legacy fights. But I'm here now. I've got the belt. And if you want to be considered the best, you can't keep running from the real challenges." Aspinall is walking a tightrope, applying psychological pressure without stepping out of character. He's not a trash talker by nature. He doesn't insult families or throw chairs. But his style of mental warfare is perhaps more effective. Cool, collected, surgical. For Gane, that's a problem. Public perception is already shifting. Once hailed as the division's most gifted technician, Gane is now being scrutinized. Has he evolved since the Jones loss? Has he shored up the gaps? Or is he playing a dangerous game of avoidance? Social media has become a battleground. MMA Twitter is ablaze with speculation, memes, and heated arguments. On Reddit, the MMA community has practically made it their mission to demand Gane versus Aspinall as the next big title fight. Aspinall's supporters point to his well-rounded game, his athleticism, and his finishing ability. Gane's fans argue that he's still the superior striker, that Aspinall hasn't faced someone like him yet. UFC President Dana White has remained coy, saying only, "That's a hell of a fight, and it's definitely on our radar." But insiders suggest that the UFC may be positioning this as a co-main under Jones versus Miocic, if and when that fight actually happens. If the UFC is smart, and they usually are, they'll put these two titans on a collision course sooner rather than later. The injury that sidelined Aspinall in 2022, a devastating knee blow against Curtis Blades, could have been a career-altering setback. Instead, it became his catalyst. In countless interviews, Aspinall has spoken about how the time away from the octagon gave him the chance to slow down, study tape, and evolve as a martial artist. "I used to rely a lot on instincts," he said. "I'd get in there and just let things happen. But since the injury, I've become a student of the game. I've been studying guys like Gane, like Jones, like Miocic. I'm not just faster or stronger now. I'm smarter." That statement is crucial. The only way to beat a technician like Gane is with IQ, not just brute force. Aspinall knows this. He's not looking to bull rush Gane and hope for the best. He's aiming to outthink him, to disrupt his rhythm, to make him uncomfortable in ways no one else has. Interestingly, Ciryl Gane has remained mostly silent in the wake of Aspinall's comments. Some see this as arrogance. Others interpret it as strategic patience. In a brief interview with French media, Gane simply said, "I hear everything. I'm focused on my journey. If that fight happens, I will be ready." But silence can only last so long. Aspinall's words are growing louder, and the pressure is mounting. The fans are calling. The media is speculating. And the UFC, they are listening. Gane may not want to play Aspinall's game, but he won't be able to ignore it forever. Aspinall has the slight edge in age and momentum. Gane has a reach advantage and more UFC experience. But the big difference lies in grappling. Aspinall has already proven he can dominate top-level heavyweights on the ground. Gane has yet to prove he can survive there. For Aspinall, a win over Gane would solidify him as the undisputed best heavyweight outside of Jon Jones. It would remove any doubt about his legitimacy as interim champ and potentially set up a blockbuster unification bout. For Gane, beating Aspinall would be redemption. A statement that his losses to Gane and Jones were growing pains, not indictments of his skill. That is still a force to be reckoned with in the new heavyweight order. This isn't just about belts or rankings. It's about legacy, about pride, about erasing doubts and silencing critics. Aspinall has made it crystal clear. Underestimating him is a mistake, a potentially career-altering one. If Gane walks into a fight with Aspinall expecting a slow, plodding wrestler, he'll be shocked at the speed. If he expects to dominate range with kicks, he'll be surprised at Aspinall's footwork and counters. And if he gets taken down, that might be the end of the story. "He's never been under the kind of pressure I bring," Aspinall said. "He's never had to make decisions at the pace I force. If he takes me lightly, he won't last around." History supports this. Aspinall has never needed more than a few minutes to finish a fight. If Gane doesn't treat him like the threat he is, he could be the next name on Aspinall's highlight reel. The UFC heavyweight division is at a crossroads. Jon Jones is recovering. Stipe Miocic is aging. The next generation is rising fast, and Tom Aspinall is leading the charge. Ciryl Gane, once hailed as the future, is at risk of becoming the past, unless he takes Aspinall seriously. Because make no mistake, Tom Aspinall isn't coming. He's already here, and is not interested in being underestimated. He wants Ciryl Gane in that cage. He wants the respect he's earned. And he wants everyone, fans, media, UFC brass, to understand the truth.